Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Modifix. My name's Dan, and today we are fixing. Alright, to fix the wipers, I'm going to have to remove this scuttle panel and see what's under there. So let me undo it, and then I'll tell you what was involved and what I find. Okay, so there's a set of screws under some caps. The caps are a pain in the arse, and if you don't take them out carefully, you will break them. So what I did was I stuck a very fine screwdriver at the top here, got it underneath, and then popped it out, and they normally fling across the room. You might have seen in the video footage there. So I've taken all of those out. Some of them were already broken and stuck in with some weird gloopy stuff, black stuff, that there. And these are the fat ones on the end. So these ones have got a clip top and bottom. Those have got a clip either side. So just be mindful of that. And then a set of screws which I've removed, all Phillips. Now I'm going to take the arms off. She's off. Alright guys, as you may have seen, I took the cover off, and you don't actually need to remove the wipers to get the cover off. I've given it a good clean up under here because it was disgusting when I did take the cover off, and now I'm attempting to take the wipers off. The wipers is one 12mm nut that holds it down under a grommet. I've managed to get that one off. It was bloody on there, and that one is still fighting me. I'm trying a few methods. I'll let you know what I did to get it off. And the other thing I need to do is these are the three linkage nuts, 10mm. And I think there's two in the middle there, so I need to lube them up good, and I think I'm gonna soak them in penetrant and just leave them overnight, because if they snap, we are booger. Oh, something very interesting that I found, and I'm a little bit ticked off about. Look at that wiper motor busted. I've got a feeling the linkages are a little bit seized up. The motor's trying too hard, and as a result it's broken. So I'm gonna have to test the motor, make sure it's all good, and if it is, then I'm gonna have to look into maybe getting that welded. Okay, update time. I managed to get the middle wiper off. That was a bugger. As you can see, there's a bit of corrosion there, holding it nice and tight and firm in place. I used a puller for that, and I just kept persevering, but it wasn't easy. So be careful with that. And I doused it in WD-40. Linkages, I got impatient and I thought I'd have a crack at the nuts, and they all cracked off all right. So I've taken all of those out, those two over there, and those three there. So the linkage is now free. So now I need to figure out how I get the motor out and disconnect it from the linkage. Update time. Managed to get the motor out. It's just 4 bolts, 2 down the bottom, 2 at the top. The ones at the bottom are a little bit fiddly, but not too bad. And then you've got the linkage attached to the motor now. Unless you unhook the linkage first, I don't think there's a way to get the motor off. So what you have to do is unhook the linkage, drop it down, and then drag the motor out as far as you can. And then you see that 10mm bolt there, mark it up, and then undo it, and then take the motor away. And then that way you can drag the linkage out. What you want to do at this point is mark the motor up. I know that's not the greatest marking, but just mark it up so that you get the motor in the correct position when you take it off. Okie dokie, I've taken the motor out. That's now on the bench. Now I'm going to drag out the linkage. Right, let's see. So the linkage is there. Might be a bit tricky, but it should be all right. That's one end of it. Okay, I'm just going to pull it through gently now. Stuck in there. Alright, I'll give it 2 minutes. Alright guys, so as you can probably see, as you probably can't see actually at the moment, so as you can see here, see this bit of the mechanism, that is free, but it's very stiff. Should be a lot more floppy than that. All the ball joints are okay and they're all moving around, but I will grease them anyway and clean them up. And then this is the culprit here. So this is the middle wiper. Now as you can see, the ball joints here and here are fine, but then when it comes to this bit here itself, this is seized solid, so I can't turn that. That should be able to turn, and as you can see there, rust has set in and therefore this is locked up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to douse this in WD-40, leave it overnight, and then I'll come back to it and see if it frees up tomorrow, and then if it doesn't, I'll have to get in the vise and smack it up a little bit. Alright guys, as suspected, it's still seized up. This is the next day now. I've doused it in a little bit more WD-40 and now I'm going to start bashing it because I think that's the only way. So what I'll do is I'll go one way. As you can see, there's a bit of movement there, then the other way, and I'll keep doing that until it loosens up and keep dousing it at the same time. And then what I'll eventually do is probably get a bar in here somewhere and then just wiggle it about, wiggle it about, wiggle it about. So I've been working this for a good 10 minutes now, and this is what we've got to. Hold on. Pretty horrendous, to be honest. I'm going to keep going anyway and see if we can't free it up. So far all I've been using is a penetrant, so WD-40, but I might start sticking some oil down there or something that would be a bit more effective maybe at actually providing lubrication. But that's the painful process, I'm afraid. This is where we've got to so far. I have got a bit of movement here. I'll just demonstrate. But it's still very stiff. So, I've done a bit of research and I've found out that this actually all comes apart. There's a little snap ring in there. You could probably just about see it. And you have to hook that out, tap that down, and then all of this will come out, clean it all up and put it all back together. And hopefully we'll be able to save it. I've already run a wire brush, this thing here, all around with a bit of magical old WD, and it's come out quite clean actually, and I needed to do that anyway because the wiper arms were quite seized on. So now I'm going to try and get that snap ring out, wish me luck, and I'll update you. You might have noticed I've removed the arms. That was semi-successful because this arm here came out okay. However, this one here, as you can see, the bush, which is that, is actually in two parts. So you've got this part here, which goes on the front, I think, and then that one goes on the back. And they're both clipped together using this middle bit. I did the same thing as I did on this one. I sort of tried to twist the arm, and in doing that, I've snapped it. It's not a big deal because I think I can glue that all back together. If I can find good replacements, I will. But I am gonna try and rebuild this. This is the other side, and as you can see, look, that's the corrosion that I've already rubbed away on the other side. So let me see if I can rebuild that one. Let me see if I can disassemble it, and then I'll update you. Alright guys, shit has just got real. There is a snap ring. It's that over there. How successfully I'm going to be able to get that back on is going to be interesting. That's if I haven't lost it. I'll have a look for it in a minute. And below that sits this washer here. And then below that sits this O-ring here. And then you got all those gubbins inside. I tried to whack it with a hammer, but I didn't want to be too brutal with it because I might end up damaging the threads. So now I'm trying it with this method. And it's proving very difficult. I'm going to persevere and I'll let you know when I've got that out of there. Okay, and there you go. That's why this thing didn't work. If we're looking here, look at the crud in there as well. So I'm going to clean that out nice. I'm going to sand this shaft down, probably get the wire wheel on it first, then get a bit of sandpaper, smooth it out, grease it all up and put it back together. Notice there's two weird springy washers at the bottom. There's the O-ring and the flat one at the top, and then the spring washer, which I did find. Might have lost it again. So yeah, let me clean it all up, put it all back together. Alright guys, I think you'll agree, looks a bit better than it originally did now. I hit it with the wire wheel on the drill and then with some 600 sandpaper. Now I'm just going to clean the nylon sleeve and lube it all up and put it back together. Right guys, it's at times like this when I'm very proud of myself. Look at that. That is beautiful. Managed to salvage the snap ring as well. What I did was I compressed it using these and then I slid it on slowly using two little picks and just slid it down until it went dink. But the tricky part is you've got to keep pressure on the bottom of it because you've got to push the shaft through so you can see the groove and then snap the ring in. But that's done, guys. Very, very happy with that. So now on to the next one. I won't bore you with the details of that, but I'll put it all back together and then I'll show you the finished article. Just made a discovery on this one. Just cleaned it up. I'm going to re-grease it in a minute. But it's got an O-ring on the bottom as well. So it's got the two spring washers and it's got the O-ring on the bottom. So I didn't actually check the other one to see if it had an O-ring on the bottom. And these O-rings actually look okay, so I think I'm going to leave them. Even that one, they've got a bit of grease on them, but I'll just clean that off. They're not sort of brittle or dry or stretched, so they'll go back on. Okay, that's quite odd because I've just taken this one apart again and no rubber O-ring on the bottom. I think it might be because the sleeve's nylon, so that might be the reason. And this one feels a lot sort of freer in the hole. That might go some way to explain why this one was rotten and the other one was alright, because the other one's got two rubber seals, stops water ingress, whereas this one not so much. But I have changed the rubber seal on this, so hopefully it will be better going forward. Right, now that's done. That's done. I don't think I'm going to mess with these, to be honest, because they have a tendency to break, as I showed you earlier. New bit of grease in the balls and that's it. The grease looks alright in there, to be honest. The other thing that is a bit of a miss is this little baby over here. Now that sits on this side of this and it's buggered. I might have to get creative with that, but apart from that, all good. Yeah, I'll glue that overnight and we'll check in at some point tomorrow. Sorry about the noise, guys. There's another issue with this car that we'll come to later. As you can see with the motor there, that's on full blast and it's working away nicely. Can't even stop it with my fingers. We can say the motor's okay apart from that being broken. Right, I was going to get the motor welded, and finding a good TIG welder nowadays is a nightmare, especially around where I live. Found one guy and he wanted £170 to weld that bracket on. So I thought I would give this stuff a try. JB Weld is known for being rock solid, so I used it not only for this little cup here, or bush, whatever you want to call it. That is actually like solid now. It was broken and now it's perfectly fine. So I'm very happy about that. The only bit that broke actually was, see that there, it snapped, so it was rotating in the hole. So the actual bush itself is fine. So I'm just going to re-grease that and put it back on the ball. Same with that as well. But this is the really good news. I mean, it's been a couple of days since I did this now, but I JB welded this lug back onto the motor. I've sanded this bit down so it doesn't look terrible, but look at it. It is solid. I'm going to see how this goes. It's not bad. And the thing is the bits that you can't see, I've really padded them out with plenty of JB Weld, and of course on the joint as well. On this side, you can't really see this side on the car. And it's not really about aesthetics for me. It's about functionality. And this is actually solid now. So I'm going to the whole mechanism back together now just to demonstrate to you. And then I'll take the wiper arms back off and paint them, because it'd be a shame not to do that whilst they're off. Reassembly time, I think. Worst case scenario, if that does break again, which I doubt, then I will get it welded or replace it even. The only reason that fatigued, I think, was because this bugger here was seized solid. But now that's all moving nice and freely, I think we'll be alright. Right, what you want to do first and foremost is slide the mechanism in and get the motor end out, so it's sticking out like that, and reattach your motor first. Once the motor's attached, then position that guy over there and that guy over there loosely in position. Push that one up, bolt it in, push that one up and bolt it in. It's important that you do it in that order, otherwise you'll never get it done. I've just had a little mess about with it before I got the camera on, and it is fiddly. Let me get the motor on and then I'll see when I cut back in. Alright guys, everything's all in position now. Motor's in, linkages are in, all bolted up. The only thing I would say to you is just make sure the orientation of this guy and that guy over there in the middle are both more or less in the right area before you connect the motor, because if you don't, then it's a bugger to get them in. And if you have small hands that fit through that hole there, it really helps. Get in there, push it in the hole. There's a locator lug for that one and this one in fact, which helps so you can't get it wrong really. Bit fiddly, but not too bad. Now we are going to see if it works. I'm not going to refit any of the wipers yet. I'm just going to run the motor with the stubs and just make sure that it sounds okay. And then if that test passes, we'll put the arms on, test it again. So here we go guys, so wish me luck. Alright guys, it looks like success. Look at this, watch. Setting 1. That's intermittent I think, yeah. And then you've got setting 2 and setting 3. So we are looking good. Can we see the other side? Yes we can. Everything running like butter. So I'll get the wipers on now just for a test to show you. Alright, let's see how they work now. That was a fail. Right, what's happening is that this is turning that way before it turns that way. So I've got a feeling where I put the motor back on the arm, I've put it on wrong. And the reason for that would be is because I did mark it, but when I cleaned the stubs up, I lost all of the markings. Not only for the stubs there, they're not that bad actually, because once they reset, you can put the wipers roughly where they were and that will work. But in terms of the stub on there, the marks disappeared. So I'm gonna have to take that back off, figure out where it starts and where it goes up, and then reattach it. All right guys, take 2 and action. Wish me luck. Normal speed and full speed, to be honest. But they work! Yay! So if you end up in a pickle like I did, basically what it is this mechanism runs like that, right? So this little pivot point here is just a flat bit of bar that goes round and round like that, yeah? And as a result, it either pulls the linkage this way or that way. When it pushes it that way, the wipers will be fully up, and when it pushes it this way, the wipers will be coming down, yeah? So what you want to do is make sure that the bar is fully straight that way like that on the motor, so that it's fully down. If that makes sense. As you can see, my wiper arms have seen better days, so I'll give them a quick coat of paint and let that dry overnight, and then stick them on tomorrow. Right, and that is the wipers all done. They will need a bit of adjusting up and down maybe over time. Also, the eagle-eyed of you would have noticed that there are a few caps missing. I did try and find some new caps, and there's only one place you can get them from in Australia or something on eBay, and they cost a bloody arm and a leg. I think Essex Rotary sell them as well. Again, I don't mind spending money on good parts, but I refuse to pay a lot of money for something that should cost pennies. So if you guys know of any other options, then do let me know. Otherwise I might just have to bite the bullet and buy them for the price that they are. Hope you enjoyed that video. Plenty more content to come. Watch out for the next one. Bye for now.